Check one, two. Check one, two. All right, we got audio tonight. Okay. I don't know why it's not playing music right now. It might be concerning for later. But, we're actually not concerned about that because we're going to go here and we're going to do this. There. And we're going to stay right here this time. Okay, so this is a second attempt to finalize my thoughts on Embers of Mana. We'll give it one more try here. Hold on. Okay, I think I'm good. All right, I'm good. Because I'm a fucking moron. And last night I talked for about 50 minutes on all my thoughts concerning Embers of Mana in general. And I thought the video was fine. And I even gave it to Impala. I was like, hey, here's all my thoughts. And I opened it up just to make sure the audio was fine. And it turns out the audio was not fine. The audio was bad. The track I had, like the game audio, overpowered the mic. And I think it was because the stream had crashed. Which it might do today. Oh my god. If it seems like I'm exasperated, it's because I am, alright? Like, this is going to be my third attempt to record this just because it's been so fucking arduous, alright? So it's not on the game. Alright, we beat the game last night. The game's good. It's just I hate repeating myself and I hate having to basically improvise 3 times in a row. Because, me being a complete imbecile, I never write anything down that I actually need to talk about. Anyway, so let's talk about Embers of Mana. So first off, predominantly, before anything else, this game is excellent. This is an excellent ROM hack of a pretty good game, which makes it very, very, very good. All right. I would highly recommend this to anyone who likes Final Fantasy, who likes Legend of Zelda, who likes the Mana series. The Mana, like, if you're coming from the Mana series, like Secret Trials, Second Zenitsu 3 Sword, you're gonna have some growing pains, but I think you'll kind of fall into a rhythm pretty quick. In general, this is, in my opinion, an objective upgrade to Final Fantasy Adventure. Objectively, the game runs better, the game plays better, the game functions better. Even though it doesn't seem like it, there's a lot of things mechanically under the hood that are really, really good and work very well, especially over Final Fantasy Adventure. Alright, but I'm probably just going to end up talking in the same exact format, which you never heard, which it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to try and do a compliment sandwich. So criticism, or compliment, criticism, compliment, keep it like that. And the biggest thing I want to address and I want to talk about, the most important thing to me for Embers was the plot, and not necessarily like the characters, not necessarily the story itself, but more of like the message and the themes surrounding it. Embers of Mana is a game about the world ending, and it's a game about people dying, a lot of people dying. It's a game about the world itself, the Mana Tree itself, folding into despair and trying to destroy her own children because of her own suffering. It's a dark game. It's a sad game. But underneath all of that, it's a game of unyielding hope and optimism and the tenacity of the human spirit. And I really appreciate that that is particularly what Impala chose as the story, as the message of Embers of Mana. So for example, there's a few times when Bo saved us from our mom, he got hurt. There was a brother and sister pair who helped us out of the kindness of our heart. They were complete strangers. They didn't know I don't think we even knew we were the Emperor Mana yet. But they decided to help us for no other reason than times are hard and people need to stick together. Which was almost a direct antithesis to everything that we'd seen so far. The animal-like or monster-like races that we'd encountered before, like the crocodile people and the Mughals, either didn't care or just generally were ambivalent towards humanity dying. So that was really good. Ulf, the man, the myth, the legend, face tanked Dark Mana just to bitch slap our mom, and then proceeded to get us through the mountain because he knew he was the only one who could do it, and he died knowing that he was never going to find out if he was actually successful. His death had any meaning. He had a reason to die. He had something to die for, even at the end of it all. The Kings I didn't talk about last night, and I forgot to. The Kings and their tragedy. Hey, welcome. I'm just talking right now, just real quick. I'm probably going to be talking for about 40 minutes, and then we're actually going to start a different game. So just bear that in mind. This is going to be kind of boring, so you might want to check back in like an hour. Okay. The Kings and the story of the slain brother, and how they're like, at the end of it all, the king blamed himself, and the king took responsibility for his crime, and he felt guilt. He felt, what's the proper word here? He was, shit, it's gone. What's the word? Repentant. He was repentant for his crimes. His kingdom had fallen, the world was falling apart, and in the end, it was his brother's loss that was really kind of defining him. And I thought, like, all of these themes put together tell a story of when the world is coming to an end, when everything seems hopeless, there is still those parts, those key elements of humanity that will shine through. And I think, like, especially in this day and age with how dark everything seems and how bleak and hopeless the world seems, that's a really powerful message to convey. It's just a fucking Game Boy ROM hack, right? But it's still, the fact that he chose to go that direction, I think, was really cool, and I really appreciate that. Let's see. Plot-wise, like, the characters were very good. I liked Lean. She was very relatable. She was kind of simple, but I mean, every protagonist at some point is going to be a bit basic just so you can kind of latch onto them. I liked her relationship with Bo. I liked that Bo survived, and I liked that Flora survived. I honestly was expecting Flora to get destroyed off screen, and Bo with it. She was good. Noelle was good. I really enjoyed that this particular story also chose to have more of like a nature-based disaster as the kind of antagonist, more than like an evil empire or a mustache-twirling villain or something like that. More of a archetypical mana plot, right? Where the Vandal empires come back once again. Like, that is pretty well played out, and this felt a lot more nuanced, I want to say, just because, like, at the end of the day, like, yes, the Kings and the Vandal Empire were probably, I think, somewhat to blame for the mana trees falling indirectly. I think that's what the message was conveying, what the little plot was trying to convey, like a subtext. But in the end, it's nature itself turning on humanity, and that's like a far more unifying thing, right? Like everyone has to band together. It's a disaster, you know. That's what makes disaster films always good. Is that everyone has to band together to help each other. So I enjoyed that. Um, let's talk about music. Music, the music is fucking amazing, and I really want to play the music again, but I'm not going to because I already got burned once on this shit. All right, you can go listen to the soundtrack. I'll even put the soundtrack in the playlist for these games, or the playlist in my playlist. Um, the music is amazing, and not just because it's good. It's evocative of emotion, evocative. Um, it's simple. It's beautiful in a lot of places. And the most important part to me is that it actually underpins when you're supposed to be feeling certain emotions in the story, which is what a soundtrack usually does. And for ROM hacks especially, this is something that you don't really see. You know, like there's like several tiers to these things. Like some ROM hacks don't touch the music at all; they just leave the original soundtrack in. Some replace the soundtrack, but don't really do anything with it. Like they'll just take songs from other games and throw them in because it adds variety. It changes it up, right? Some games will have an original soundtrack done, but again, they don't really use it for anything but to kind of supplement what was already there. You know, they'll replace it one for one. Embers of Man is a very rare example of an original soundtrack that is also doing its job, which was really cool. One of my favorite moments was when Lean pulled the sword out of the stone and you heard the little title track go again, you know, that little bit of hope. It was really good, really nice. I really liked that end song. I liked the sad song from the forest. Like I listen, like I'm going to be listening to these songs on my free time now. They're in my playlists. They're in my like. I'm going to have them on hand to listen to every once in a while now. They're that good. Um, let's talk about the art. I really liked the overall aesthetic choices because you can't like there's some original art in the game, right? But you can only do so much with Game Boy sprites and Game Boy and the Game Boy screen. You can only go so far. Like the weird bug common rider thing that mom kept turning it into, that was kind of cool. Like that was a unique sprite. And it was very impressive. But I really enjoyed the kind of water themed, cool aesthetics that seemed to kind of underlie the whole game. Like the blues, the greens, the fact that there's water everywhere, the fact that most of the dungeons were kind of some kind of aquatic theme or like some kind of aquatic environment, like a wetland or something or swamp. Was that the waterfalls, which were a thing in FFA, and that's actually kind of cool. I'm glad they got that brought in. The waterfalls going up and down and kind of transporting you places, that was cool as well. I liked all of that. You definitely you get immersed into the game enough that you no longer feel like you're playing a ROM hack of FFA. Now you feel like you're playing a completely different game, right? All right, so that's kind of the first layer of the complement stamps. That's probably the most important stuff I want you to come away with from this game. All right, let's talk about some kind of weaknesses here. I have to say, first off, the general combat and gameplay did not really strike me as being as different from FFA as you may have hoped. And really, you can't really do much with that, right? Because at the end of the day, FFA is a hack and slash game, right? It's an action game. It's like Kingdom Hearts, right? You can add things and take things away, but at the end of the day, it's Sora swinging his Keyblade, and you're probably going to use most of your magic for casting Cure on yourself. There's kind of only one way to go about things. So there really isn't that much you could do in terms of changing up the combat. Um, I'm trying to think of what could have been some things. I think changing up the status effects that certain enemies could do, I think that really helped. Having stone and poison be far more prevalent of a status effect than, say, dark. Because dark never really did anything, right? Dark was never really that great of a status effect to actually impede you at all. Like, the only thing it really did was stop you from using your menu, which you shouldn't usually. Like, if you're dark, it didn't really matter. Or you could find things without it. Um, a lot of the changes to Embers to FFA were very subtle under the hood numbers things, right? That's kind of where a lot of the game really hit the rubber with the road. Um, and because of that, I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to appreciate that at a surface level. Because I played FFA and because I played Sword of Mana, I can definitely see where there are definitive differences in pacing. But we'll talk a little bit about that here in a couple of minutes. Um, let's talk about the weapons. And this isn't necessarily a criticism beyond one thing, and that's because I never found the mace, and I liked the mace, and I would have appreciated having the mace in the game. Maybe the mace felt redundant with the Maddock having some changes to it. Um, but at the same time, it was a cool weapon, and it's one of the more unique weapons to FFA and Sword. Um, it's not every game gives the player a Morning Star to swing around. Um, so I wish that could have made it in. Maybe it was. Maybe I just didn't find it. I don't know. Um, I kind of had this sense of dread as I was getting close to the end of the game. It's like, man, I'm really running out of time to find this thing, and I never did. One thing I have as a suggestion, not necessarily a criticism or point of criticism, the weapons themselves. I liked that the quality of the weapons was removed. So instead of having three of every weapon, we only had one. And each of them was named, and each of them had like a more important story beat, tied into collecting them. That was good. I liked that a lot. However, the fact that the attack stat was still tied to them definitely made it feel like, especially by the end of the game, they just became tools rather than weapons, right? Um, like the axe at the last in the mana shrine, I kept having to switch back and forth to chop one tree and then switch back to my sword because the axe was so diminutive in power at that point. There was really no reason to have it on. Um, so I wouldn't say there needs to be some kind of like supplemental system for this, but maybe just have the attack stat be separated and only influenced by your power, and just let the weapons do their like, just take the stat away from the weapons. Basically, that's kind of what I was saying, and that would at the very least make them all equal. Because it definitely felt like if and this was the thing FFA kind of covered with the different versions of the weapons. It was like the further away you got from finding it, the weaker it eventually got, and the more it was becoming redundant to more powerful weapons you found. Um, and so they would just give you a new version of that over and over again. But if you never do that, those weapons are stuck there, right? And you're never really going to incentivize yourself. There's no like job classes or anything in this. So it's like There's no like bonus damage you can get for using one particular kind of weapon. Um, so just some idea there to not you don't have to go back to different weapon versions. I liked having one weapon with a name, but just remove the attack stat from them. Or maybe if you find it, you get just a permanent buff to your attack stat that doesn't come off if you switch the weapons. Something like that. I don't know. And then the other thing concerning the swords. The swords were interesting that you had three different versions of this one weapon. The first one you got as your starting weapon, I never really saw again, and I never really used it. And I don't know if it was bugged or not, or a glitch or not, but I could never use the charge on that one. Like the blood, it worked, and the mana sword worked. But the first sword you got, it didn't work, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. But I kind of had this idea for that. Instead of having three weapons, because really, that's kind of where they got cluttered up, right? Like, that was really the only thing cluttering up your inventory was these three extra swords you had. Because Lean's grandma was a Gemini, who was tasked with her safety and probably gave her that sword. Maybe that sword could have been the blood sword that no one knew about. Only until she got back to the castle and was able to see the past does it become the blood sword. And then, after that, and after she's rescued Noelle, is the sins of the king absolved and it becomes a mana sword. So you only have one sword, but it changes forms twice, right? And then you can also roll that really sweet HP drain on the blood sword into the mana sword, because I was legitimately having an existential crisis at the end of level uh, where I wanted to use the blood sword so bad, but I was not surviving trading with the enemies because it was so weak, I really liked that blood sword. I don't remember if it did that in FFA or not. I actually have to go back and look. But that HP drain effect was very interesting. If each weapon had some kind of secondary passive ability like that, I think that would have been really cool. Oh, a little nitpick, like a little niggling, since this is the criticism section. The axe, specifically, the trees were not able to be cut. Only specific trees could be cut. And in FFA, every tree can be cut down, and it just leaves that stump. And I understand that they were using the stump for something, as like a placeholder for a button that you had to step on, or like a marker or an event flag. I get that. But removing the trees being chopped down kind of takes away agency from the player. Like, even if there's no pass, even if there's nothing to find, you should still be able to, It's like the boulders that are everywhere. Like, you can destroy them with the Manok, and there may be nothing underneath them or to find, but still, you can get rid of them. Like, having that little bit of agency enhances the experience for the player. On that note, too, one of the big things I covered, or I thought that needed to be changed, some of the background sprites shared the same kind of palette or color system with collidable objects that form boundaries, right? Like the thing I'm thinking of, the palm trees in Jad or Ish or whatever that was. How they were the same color as the trees that were bordering the screen. So you really couldn't figure out what you could and could not step on until you actually went and stepped on it. All I would like is if it's a collidable object, give it a black outline. That's it. It's a small thing, right? And then there were a few things, like little pieces of tile that I was getting stuck in or I was having weird collision issues with. It was some walls and some corners, and some of those corners actually almost got me killed on the last fight. So they need to be looked at. Um, I really think that's it on progression. Um, Lean kind of gave me a weird vibe when you found her brother, and suddenly she was like completely obsessed with him. That kind of came on suddenly and almost seemed a little bit out of character for her. Like you were supposed to notice that. You probably weren't supposed to notice that, but it seemed like it stood out to me. Um, Maybe whenever she would like pass out or have go to sleep, you would occasionally get like a little message of her talking to him. Like you wouldn't have to use his name, but like have her having a conversation with somebody. Um, and maybe that could kind of tie into it. It's just so that when that encounter finally is when you play as Noelle for the first time, it's like it doesn't just like come out of nowhere because that kind of seemed where it was coming from. But yeah, okay. So that was all the criticisms I had. Um, let's talk about some really amazing things Impala did mechanically, because these are the things that impress me the most. If you've not played FFA before, and I kind of wanted to have a diagram up, but I just didn't want to risk it. All right, honestly. Um, FFA is an open world, top down like advent, like a Zelda game, right? You can go anywhere theoretically, but in reality, through progress gating and through obstacles, it's kind of split into thirds vertically. And it really comes down to where the little jetties are that you can ride your chocobo off of and swim around in the ocean. Because of that, the game feels pretty convoluted. It's one of the very few Game Boy games I've actually gotten lost in, just because I could not figure out where I was supposed to be going with each jetty. Because it's not evident. When you get out off on one jetty, it doesn't take you where you expect to go. So then you have to go back and find a different one and try it again. You keep doing that over and over. It was frustrating, right? It was not uh, conventional thinking. Like, and that may be your cup of tea, it may not, but it's still, that's kind of how it worked. Um, Impala did a really cool thing by basically removing that open world exploration entirely. And you could see that when I first started the game and I was trying to open the map or the select bar, and it wouldn't work because he had disabled it. And that kind of gave me this thought. I was like, okay, something's different here. And by the end of the game, I realized basically what he had done is he had taken an open world, subdivided it into small, standalone chunks, isolated, and basically made a linear game. And honestly, I think it worked amazingly, right? How many open world games have you played where you were kind of like paralyzed with indecision because there's so much to do, you ended up not really doing anything, right? That's kind of how FFA looked, and that's what the Embers of Man actually fixed. By not having a big open world where you could explore everywhere or go everywhere, now you don't have to plan ahead for any circumstance that a player may be at, depending on when they find a cave, right? Like, you either have to over-engineer each dungeon on the assumption that a player is going to come in at a different point with different equipment, or you under-engineer it and oversimplify it to the point where you suck all of the challenge out by making it very, very easy and very simple, right? And that was honestly solved here, and I'm glad that he did it because it definitely needed to be done. And honestly, if we're talking like that map in FFA was fucking worthless. Like that overworld map was complete dog shit. I used it one time, I think, to find Lorwyn. Um, So that was really cool. Oh, the stat menu. I would like the stat menu back somewhere. These are just suggestions. I want the stat menu back, not just on the level up menu. That was kind of weird that I couldn't get that back. Also, fuck, I just lost it. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me think. It was a big one. I don't know. I'm gonna have to come back to it because I forgot. Shit, I hate doing that. Pacing in the game is really good. Pacing in the game felt phenomenal. Um, there were points where I kind of began to understand the formula a little bit too much and it became rudimentary. Like basically, you would start an area, you would struggle initially, you would find the new armor pieces, and then you would be good. And then you'd leave and you'd do it all over again. Like you did that like 5 or 6 times. And it worked. It worked very well. They did remove some of the weird kind of. There was some kind of fun features in FFA with like certain pieces of armor. I'm kind of. Oh no, it was the silver sword that we could like hit magical enemies. But occasionally armors did do things beyond what they like, just general protection. I didn't really see a whole lot of that here in Embers. Um, Seven Hells, what the fuck was that? What's the thing? Ooh, it's gonna bug me. Hold on. It's right on the tip of my fucking tongue. I've actually forgotten. This is gonna drive me insane. I don't know. I don't know. Removing the save menu was also interesting, and putting in the save points, I think worked well. But I will say I think there were way too many save points. I didn't need nearly as many, and honestly, it kind of took the fun out of like attempting different legs from a save point. I think would have gotten more mileage the less of them there are. So I think a few less would be good. Oh fuck, man! What was the thing? What was the thing? Right, I guess I'm just gonna have to write it down sometime. Um, let's see. The enemies were good. They felt like a threat. Exploration was really fun. I had a lot of great times. There were a few times I enjoyed exploring, and I definitely had more of a sense of exploration here. Um, but there were a few times where the areas felt small, and it kind of seemed like I got lost a couple times, but on the same route, like on the same vein, once I figured out where I was, I realized there wasn't a whole lot to go look for, you know. The dungeons were absolutely amazing in this game. Probably one of the best features, period, were the dungeons. I loved every one of them. Impala did an amazing job revising them and changing them. Just like taking them from all these kind of loops that once you realize all the FFA dungeons looped, you really stop looking for things in them or exploring them or trying to complete them because you are eventually going to get back to where you're supposed to be going anyway. But these were all very well done, very well entwined. I love, love, love when you can exit a dungeon, go outside, and then back in a different area. I love that. I loved those parts where there was a shortcut built in into the dungeon when you had to go back down. I liked how there was in the Mana Shrine, there was a dungeon, town, two dungeons, and you had to do this kind of loop through all three of those to get to make progress. That was really cool. That honestly was the most ambitious part of the game, and I wish that had been in the rest of the game more because it was really well done. It was good. I loved that. Another big thing of these extra mechanics that just weren't in the game before. The switching between Noel and Lean in dungeons to progress and do problem solving. I don't know how they managed to do that. That was insanely good. I liked how Ulf was able to make these ladders to change where you could go. That was also really cool. There was just a lot of really cool mechanical changes. And like if you don't see them or don't understand them, you're never really gonna appreciate them. That's why I kind of want to talk about them because they're just so good. It's such a good game. Fuck, I'm trying to think out what we're saying here. I think this is a really cool game. I want it to succeed. I want it to grow in popularity so people come and play it and FFA and have appreciation. Because I said it before, FFA really is a very unique game. It is as much a Final Fantasy game as it is a Zelda game, as it is a Mana game, right? It sits kind of separated from everything else. And yes, it's simplistic. Yes, there's only really about 3 different ways you could play it. But they are very fun. Oh, by the way, and I should have said this at the beginning rather than the end, all of my experiences are with the standard difficulty version of Embers. There is a hard mode that you can patch in separately, and I don't know anything about that. It may be worth a try one day. I don't know. I'm kind of good. I'm good right now on FFA. I've played through the regular game. I played through this back to back. I'm good. I'm gonna let it digest for a while. It's a beefy game. You're gonna be filled. The one thing, like, and I hope that no one made it to the end of this whole series I did, and comes away with this thought that well, now I never have to play that since I saw someone play it. I would highly encourage you to go play this game, even if there seemingly isn't anything to take away that you would see you do differently. That's kind of like the one beef that I could see with this game, is that it maybe could be expanded in the future to kind of vary a little bit more based on play styles or something to that effect. Just because it's one of those games you play through it once and you never really expect to see more beyond that, right? It's a simple game. Again, it isn't necessarily a harp on Impala. It's more of a harp on FFH being an older original Game Boy game that's kind of simple, right? There's only so much you can do with this. And Impala has done an insane amount of work. If you don't know Impala, by the way, he has done ROM hacks for, I think, Castlevania 2, Metroid, and Super Mario on the NES. So he's done a lot of really good ROM hacks in the past. He's pretty experienced. There are links to everything. There's links to his website for this game in just about every video and the playlist I made. So go check those out. Really amazing guy. Really impressive. I'm impressed. I had a great time. This game, I'm going to be thinking about it for a very long time. And I can think of no possible greater compliment than that. A game, a ROM hack that stays with you for potentially the rest of my life, honestly. Especially because of that music. Man, that music sold it so well. It tied everything together so well. So yes, I think that's everything. I'm about at the same place I was last night, time wise. I did want to say this is not related to Embers and Mana anymore. Um, Last week was, I believe, the 8th anniversary of when I started streaming, so the channel's 8 years old now. We're really, really, really close to uh, 300 subscribers, and by every modern conventional metric for YouTube, for social media, for anything, 300 subscribers in 8 years is fucking abysmal. Um, I should, like, that should not be a bragging right in anyone's book, especially mine. But regardless of that, the fact that there's 300 people out there, or nearly 300 people out there, who are willing to take time out of their lives and sit down and watch my stupid bullshit and all the stream problems I have and all that crap, I appreciate it more than you could ever know, right? Like, your time is precious, your time is invaluable, and it's finite, and you're never going to get it back. And the fact that there's so many people out there who would be willing to dedicate some time in their lives to watch what I do is insanely touching. Like, if you've ever just commented or said something in the chat or liked a video, all of that, all those things mean more to me than any money I could ever make off monetization, which I don't make any. I'm never going to make any. But it's worth all more money in the world to me. So thank you for your continued support. I don't know where I'm going in the future, but I intend to continue doing what I'm doing. And I hope that whatever that is I'm doing, you continue to enjoy. So if you ever have any suggestions, any comments, concerns, criticisms of any of my work, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to have a conversation with you. Um, I think that is it. I'm actually going to end the stream now, and I'm going to restart it. Uh, I'm a little worried about my fucking bit rate has been stupidly low this whole time, and I'm glad I'm not actually streaming anything right now. But I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to start Starbeast's Comet Edition, because that's the next game on the itinerary. So, if I remember anything I was supposed to talk about that I forgot, I'll throw it in the comments or the description of this video. But yeah, the TLDR Embers of Mana is an amazing ROM hack. It deserves a playthrough. It deserves your time. It's very good, and you will not be disappointed. And I'm putting my seal of approval on that. All right. Okay, so stick around. We're going to get started with Starbeast's Comet Edition. Comet version, what do we call it?